Yay, football! Listen, whether you're a pigskin-loving, team colors face-painting, $10,000 ticket-buying superfan of America's other favorite pastime, or simply a casual observer who's just here for the suds and wings, or maybe even one of those filthy nerds who once referred to the uniforms as costumes by accident in front of all your friends, nerds! 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 It's safe to say that there's one thing we're all looking forward to when Super Bowl Sunday arrives. The ads. The insanely expensive commercials are the advertisers' chance to reach one of the most embiggened TV audiences of the year, and as such, the ads are often memorable, celebrity-filled, and these days, of course, meme-ready.
What are these? We call them popcorners. Say their name.
But in the pantheon of big game ads, what are the best of the best? Which commercials in the history of the Super Bowl have proven truly worship-worthy on this, the most holy day on the American calendar? These are our picks for the best Super Bowl ads of all time. This is the most important video we've ever made, by the way.
Pathetic. You're 32 years of age, and you don't know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Its name is the recipe, you
Riding the Betty White pop culture love of the time, 2010's Snickers ad features the Golden Girls star playing a game of football with some dudes. Sure, she was 88 at the time and came out of retirement to film the segment, but this is Betty White. So, when the former Hollywood Squares and $25,000 pyramid mainstay takes a hard tackle and lands in the mud, her response,
"Oh, come on, man, you've been riding me all day,"
is totally believable. The commercial started the Snickers You're Not You When You're Hungry campaign that would soon make it the #1 candy bar on the market, up from number 7. At least that's what the Mars Wrigley brand's ad agency claims. And while it's a bit disappointing that the revered comedian turns out to actually be some guy named Mike who's only playing like Betty White, we then see that Abe Vigoda is also on the field taking hits. Such highs and lows in this ad. What a roller coaster.
That's not what your girlfriend said.
Baby!
First, Budweiser wanted to ingratiate itself to hardworking Americans with some workhorses. Then they went after the frat bros with a dog and a Hawaiian shirt. But for Super Bowl 29, Budweiser searched high and low for its next spokes animals and found them in the swamps. Of course, we're talking about the Budweiser Frogs. Those rhythmically croaking frogs proved so successful that it caused a genuine moral panic. Groups like Mothers Against Drunk Driving took out ads in newspapers calling on Anheuser-Busch to can Bud, Wise, and because they were too popular with children. Comparisons were drawn to Joe Camel, that Austin Butler-esque, cig-ripping, sax-playing sexy camel whose ads were also retired because kids, rightfully so, thought he was cool. And like Joe Camel, the frogs would eventually be retired. But for a moment, that Gore Verbinski-directed ad was so successful, a 1996 study showed that children recognized the frogs more than other mascots like Ronald McDonald and Tony the Tiger. Look, there are two mainstays of Super Bowl ads. One is Budweiser, and the other is the tearjerker. You know, the first is the I can drink 15 of these like they're water type, and the second is the shit, I'm crying in front of my kids because this commercial is so sad and I also drank 15 beers type. The Budweiser Clydesdales are mascots that the bottler has served up for many a game day ad, but we're including this particular one on our list because the 2014 segment has got a lovable horse, a lovable puppy, and a happy ending. Actually, that describes some other Budweiser Super Bowl ads as well, come to think of it, but only this one features a dog and horses that revolt against a human. Still comes out on top.
My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
On the more serious side, there are ads that actually have something to say, even if they're trying to sell you something while they do it. 2015's Like a Girl questions gender stereotypes in a simple way, posing questions like, show me what it looks like to run like a girl, or to fight like a girl. The responses are stereotypical at first, but when little girls are brought in and asked the same questions, their heads aren't filled with any of that junk yet. And so they run, and they throw, and they fight, and being a girl has nothing to do with it.
What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
Way to kill our buzz, Monster.com. This fucking ad, which is shot almost entirely in black and white, features several children speaking straight to the camera about what they want to be when they grow up. A fireman? A doctor? An astronaut? Nope.
I want to climb my way up to middle management.
This was 1999, so it wasn't just the age of the dot-com boom, where sites like Monster.com were promising to change our lives for the better, but it was also apparently an era where folks wanted to feel bad about their lives while watching the Super Bowl. At least, that's what the success of the ad seems to indicate. According to Ad Age, Monster's traffic increased by about 1 million visitors per month for the rest of the year after this ad aired.
I want to be underappreciated.
Be paid less for doing the same job.
I want to be forced into early retirement.
This 2012 Chrysler ad isn't celebratory in the usual Super Bowl Sunday way, but it is meant to be optimistic in its hardened approach. A steely-faced, gravelly-voiced Clint Eastwood, is that redundant? I think that might have been redundant. Anyway, Clint Eastwood narrates the piece, which is centered on U.S. car makers' attempts at recovery in the aftermath of the Great Recession. The previous year, Chrysler had success with an ad called Born of Fire, which featured Eminem and imagery of an ascendant Detroit. But in Halftime in America, directed by Halloween's David Gordon Green, the focus may be on the auto industry, but the real message is directed at the entire country. And it worked, as the ad became somewhat controversial in political circles and highly viewed.
Yeah. It's halftime America, and our second half's about to begin.
And Jordan.
What'd you expect? Elmer Fudd?
You want the ad that led to the creation of Space Jam? Fine, here it is. But you also have to admit that it led to the creation of Space Jam A New Legacy as well.
Yeah.
Deal with that while I continue to talk. Michael Jordan may not have been a professional football player, but he was, and is, one of the most famous athletes in the world. So teaming him up with Bugs Bunny, who is certainly one of the most famous cartoon rabbits in the world, must have made some kind of sense in 1992. That the ad ends with Bugs promising that this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship only proved that the rascally rabbit could add prophetic to his list of many talents.
This could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
They went out on a limb to add some Star Wars in a Super Bowl ad with this one from 2011, but man, did it work. Time would go on to call it the ad that changed Super Bowl commercials forever. Mainly because of the decision to run it online before the big game. That wasn't really a first in the industry, but it was a huge success, and as a result, to this day, we now get a ton of ads in advance of Super Bowl Sunday. Go ahead, share that mega corporation's ad on your social. It don't cost nothing, especially for them. As for the actual piece, it's just a charming as all get out depiction of a little kid dressing up as Darth Vader and trying to pull some force moves. We've all done it at one time or another, though the dressing up part is always optional. But when the kid's dad decides to do a little remote start action with his car, giving the impression that the force is, like real, he rocks the child's world and maybe turns him into a real-life Dark Lord from the resulting trauma. Who can say? I don't know, somebody track that kid down, see how he's doing. I'm a little worried about him. When you make an ad that goes on to inspire a TV special, you know you did something right. And that's exactly what happened with Coca-Cola's Hey Kid, Catch, which aired during Super Bowl 14 in 1980. Featuring the Pittsburgh Steelers' Mean Joe Green, the spot sees a young fan offer a beleaguered and beaten-up Green his Coke. It's a sort of awkwardly constructed and performed ad by today's slicker standards. But as Green tosses his jersey to the kid and utters the titular catchphrase, which you can kinda hear over the cheery jingle that's also playing, Coca-Cola was instantly assured their biggest advertising slam dunk. If you'll forgive our mixing of sports metaphors, since Don Draper hit it big for the soft drink conglomerate. Which, by the way, that ad also played during the Super Bowl a few years earlier.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the information purification directives we have created for the first time.
Of course, course, Apple's now legendary commercial for what in 1984 was its new line of Macintosh home computers remains one of the most influential and memorable ads ever. Directed by Ridley Scott himself, the acclaimed filmmaker brings his Alien and Blade Runner panache to this spin on George Orwell's famed novel about a bleak and grubby dystopian future. As the monochrome, zombified denizens of this version of 1984 stare, mouths agape at a Big Brother figure on a giant telescreen, a very colorful, very 80s marathon runner, I guess, speeds through the crowd, hurling a sledgehammer at the screen and smashing it in defiance of the world around her. On-screen text then promises that with the arrival of the Macintosh, we'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. And yet, here we are in 2024, and the screens may have gotten smaller thanks to Apple, but the mouths agape as we stare at those same screens, they seem pretty familiar. Still just agape. Just super agape.
We shall prevail.
But hey, what are your favorite Super Bowl ads? Let us know in the comments, with your mouths agape if you want, we don't mind. And be sure to like and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.